Thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris, and that's Murph, and we're going head to head, making picks so you can cash in slips. So grab a drink, enjoy the show, because this is the smartest idiot you know. Welcome back. Glad everybody is back. We're here for another episode. We're going to go over this weekend slate, and we have, I think it's 15 games in total, including this past Thursday's game. And I'm excited. We got 2 Monday night games, and some of these games, they have some good storylines. So I can't wait to get into it. But I'm here with Murph. How you doing, Murph?
Doing great, Chris. Good to be back. Looking forward to going over these week 6 games. And just wanted to say congratulations again on last week's win, going 10-4. Hell of a weekend for you.
It's not as good as your back-to-back 13 and threes, and I think you even have an 11 bagger under your belt. So I'm still in catch-up mode, but I'll get there. I think I get there. Maybe this week will catch me up. I think I'm nine picks behind you. So let's close in that gap.
Yeah, that's right. One weekend at a time.
This slate's got some good ones. We got a lot of backup quarterbacks playing. We got a lot of teams that we know are the bottom of the barrel. And I hope this week we do not have anything that happened last week, like the Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm still a little ticked off by those 2 games. Arizona definitely didn't play up to their style of ball, and I'm still burnt by that. And I can kind of understand the Rams to a certain extent, but I think the one that makes me the outside of my head the most is the Cardinals. And I hope that doesn't happen. But we do have a bottom of the barrel game. 1 versus 4 and 1 and 4 and 1 and 4. We have Tennessee Titans versus the Raiders. So I don't know who's going to be tuning into that game, but somebody's going to end up being 2 and 4, and someone's going to end up being 1 and 5 for this. And then we also have the Jets, the only team that hasn't won a game, and they might win their game or might not. We'll have to find out. What game are you most interested in seeing this weekend?
Yeah, you're right. We got a couple of teams battling over that future number 1 overall pick, it seems like. But we got some good games. I think the game that I'm most looking forward to is going to be that Detroit at Kansas City game. I think that's going to be a good game to watch. I think we'll get a chance to see, how Detroit stacks up against another solid team, and we're going to see what version of Kansas City we're going to get. Seems like a little Jekyll and Hyde there in Kansas City with the Chiefs right now, but I think that'll be a good game to watch for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the best game on the slate. Barring, meaning as in there's going to be the most competitive game. There's going to be competitive games this week, and there's going to be some outcomes that we probably just weren't going to expect. But I would circle that game, and I would say that that's probably going to be the most intriguing game of this weekend that I would want to sit down and watch is Detroit versus Kansas City. I'm excited for that one. But the first game we're going to actually get into, and you can kick us off, but let's talk about Dallas and Carolina.
Yeah, we got the Cowboys at -3. They're traveling to Carolina. I don't really have a lot to say on this one, but Dallas is absolutely rolling on offense. They're number 1 in total offense.
Yep.
Dak is second in yards, third in touchdown. Javonte Williams, third in rushing. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry. That's a ridiculous number right now. So, while the Cowboys couldn't stop a nosebleed if they wanted to on defense, I think this kind of plays out how it did last weekend with the Cowboys Jets game, where I just feel like Carolina just does not have the firepower to keep up in an offensive shootout. I think Dallas pulls away with this, and I'm going to take Dallas here at -3.
Yeah, that's a good bet. I'm glad the spread is -3 because if you're judging it based off of Dallas has been playing, because kid you not, Dallas is 2-2, and the opponents that they've played, and even with the tie, they're actually they're not 2-2. I'm sorry, they're 2-2-1, right? And
That's right.
so
Yep, they got the tie.
the way that they've been playing, Javonte Williams, Dak Prescott, with CD Lamb out, with their offensive line out, the coach has really been stepping up to the plate on some of these games. And we thought last week's game was going to be one of those games where the coach doesn't show up. You know, it's one of those games that, oh, you're playing a subpar team so far in the first 5 weeks and you're not going to show up, but you're going to show up when a good team comes. And they knocked that out of the water. They passed that test with flying colors. This is going to be another one of those tests, a subpar team. But my fear is if this was a bigger spread, and it very well could have been because they're playing Carolina, that Carolina would come in the fourth quarter and they'd score through a backdoor score or something like that and end up covering. So I'm glad this is actually 3 points, and watch it be a 1 point game because that's just how it rolls. But I'm also would take Dallas at -3, and I wouldn't care about the push because I do think Dallas, if they played anything like they have played all their games, except for game 2 when they played the Bears, I would say that Dallas is going to roll in this one, regardless of their offensive line woes. Their defense is going to play okay, enough to win. Pickens is going to be the man again. Fergie is going to come out and he's going to score. But better yet, Williams might be the player of the game because so far in my book, I think Williams is the most reliable running back besides my boy down in New York. I think he's got some legs on him.
Yeah, yeah, Chris. I like the pick there at -3. I say we get right into Arizona at Indy. What do you think about that game?
I think Arizona and Indy, it's going to be Indy. I'm going to pick Indy. I'll just come out and say it. The line is 7.5, and I'm okay with taking Indy of 2 scores here. And the reason why is not because of Arizona's last game, not because I'm still mad at Arizona or I'm still upset about that and I'm letting that influence my decision. That's not what is happening here. Arizona so far in this whole season has been playing unpredictable. And I think last game kind of did show that Kyler Murray, he checks himself out of games. And I can't trust him. I don't trust the coaching. I don't think they have a good coach at all. And if I start lining up position by position, I'm going to start favoring Indy. And I know I mentioned in the previous game about running backs. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is one that's under the radar that a lot of people aren't talking about. Jonathan Taylor is really performing. He is one of the top backs this year. And he's been flying under the radar because he plays for the Indianapolis Colts. And they're 4-1 this year. And they're going to be 5-1 at the end of this game. I'm picking Indy here. And I'm okay with the 2 score spread.
Yeah, I really love this line when it opened up. I think, based off a couple different sites, but it ranged from 3.5 to 4 when it opened. So I really love that line. It's since moved to 7.5. But I mean, Arizona they started out 2-0, since lost 3 in a row, but their wins are against the Saints and the Panthers. And after those 3 straight losses by the field goal, by last second field goals, I mean, how do you think that locker room's feeling right now? And then you got to travel to Indy, who is for real. The Colts are for real. They're second in points per game, fifth in scoring defense, top 5 in total yards, fourth in passing, and ninth in rushing. So I like Indy here. While Arizona they do have a top 10 defense. Again, they've played New Orleans and Carolina, a banged up San Francisco team, and the Titans. Those are 4 of their 5 opponents. And I think Indy's just a different animal here. So I'm going to take Indy at 7.5. I think Indy continues to roll, and I think this might get ugly there
Yeah, I think so too,
for the
man.
Cardinals.
I think so too. And I think the public agrees with us too. I mean, Indy is just on such a phenomenal run so far this year that it's hard to go against them, especially with how Arizona has been playing. And I mean, the next game is one that I'm going to find a little intriguing. They just traded their quarterback away because they benched him. They sent him to Cincinnati to see if he can't get the ball to the receivers there and Jamar Chase and Higgins. And we're going to talk about Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. That's going to be an interesting game. What do you think about that one, Murph?
Yeah, Steelers -5.5 here. Browns coming off that heartbreaking loss where, they're in London. Minnesota scores with 25 seconds to go. That's got to be deflating. Pittsburgh, they'll be well rested. They're coming off that bye. Cleveland's pass D ranks fourth in yards allowed, but they've only intercepted 2 passes through 5 weeks. Both these teams rank in the bottom 5 in just about every offensive category. So I think this might be just one of those knockdown, drag out fights where it's low scoring. Everybody's throwing haymakers at each other. Might even have some flags thrown for some unnecessary roughness in these games. But I think this division battle is going to be low scoring. So give me the points here, man. Give me the Browns. I'm going to take the Browns. Let's go, dogs.
Yeah, you're kind of making me think you're going to pull out here and say Pitt, and I'm going to come out and say I was going to say the Browns as well. And the reason why is I just think 5.5. I think that's too much for Pitt right now to play against a defensive team like the Browns. And you're right on point about the offenses. Dylan Gabriel did not have a great game in his game. Yeah, he threw for 2 touchdowns, but he did what he needed to do, and they almost won, but they didn't win. And I don't care how much rest Pittsburgh has, that they need to they haven't shown me yet enough for me to back them on any bet that I would want to make. Any line against any team, they haven't showed me yet that they can actually pull it out. Yeah, they went overseas and they crushed Minnesota. Or they didn't crush them. They ended up winning, I think, by 4 or something like that. To me, they haven't figured it out yet. And they need to figure it out if they want to win some games in the upcoming season here. But I'm picking the Browns. I think that defense is going to prevail. And it's going to give enough for Gabriel to be able to move the ball. And hey, guess what? If Gabriel can't get it done, our boy Sanders is going to get in. And maybe we can see Primetime Junior come in and start showing what Primetime's all about. Maybe get the Browns back into some primetime, TV slots or something. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns here.
Yeah, interesting storyline though coming out of Cleveland there, where obviously Dylan Gabriel's a starter, but I thought it was interesting that Stefanski couldn't come out and he was non-committal on who the backup there is. And I'm just like, I don't know, just something smells off there in Cleveland with everything that's going on with Sanders. I don't know, it just doesn't smell right. But that might be a different time, different story for a different time. But something doesn't feel right there. But hey, let's jump into the next game, Chris. We got Bengals at Packers. Packers -15. That's a big spread. How you feeling about that?
I like the move to get Flacco. I know that Cleveland benched him in game after 4 games, yeah, and understandably why. But I do like him down in Cincinnati. I believe that he can be thrusted into this game. Just coming off of an economy flight, coming off of Spirit Airways and just walking to the campus and putting on his uniform and going out there and slinging the rock. I don't think he needs, with Jamar Chase and Higgins and Njoku. I mean, I don't care if you got an offensive line or not. I mean, all he has to do is get the ball out. And they're playing the Packers. I understand the Packers got a good defense, but I don't know if you remember or not, but Flacco played the Packers just a few weeks ago. And we saw how close of a game that was. And I'm not saying Cincinnati has the defense anywhere near what the Browns have, but he's going to have a lot more offensive tools to play around with Cincinnati. And I like Green Bay this year, but I've seen enough sample size so far that I need to see more for them to really know that they're just going to come out and blow out a team. And I think 15 points here is blowout territory. And I might get burned on this, but I'm going to take Cincy. I'm going to take the 15 points here because I think Flacco is going to be he's going to matter here. Browning couldn't get it done. We saw that. The ball can never get to the receivers, and all you have to do is just get it in Chase's hands. And I think you got a chance. And so yeah, I'm going with the Bengals.
Yeah, we have a Joe starting at QB in Cincy. It's not the Joe everybody wants, but I don't think it's a bad move at all. You know, um, this is by far, you touched on it. This is by far the best receiving core that Flacco's ever had. Now, this might be the worst O line that he's ever had. And if you have Chase Brown in fantasy, that might be a good deal. A little check down king there. Chase might be getting a lot of points there if you're in a PPR league. But Flacco, he beat the Packers once this year.
Yeah.
Beat the Packers once. He didn't light it up, but he
Nope.
did what he had to do. He had a solid game. He doesn't beat the Packers this weekend, I don't think, but give me the points. I'm going to go Bengals here too. I think 15's a little too much. I think they're going to give Joe the reins. I think he's going to sling it. I like the Bengals here minus or plus 15.
Man, we're going chalk so far. We have the same. We're getting the same picks here. And I promise, he did not know who I was going to choose going in, and I did not know who he was going to choose going in. But we're going to go right into this next game, and let's see if we have the same picks or not. But this Detroit Kansas City game that we had circled that we think is going to be the best game of the weekend. And
Yeah, this is by far going to be the best game, most exciting game to watch, I think, in my opinion. I mean, Kansas City's favored by 2.5 here at home. But is there any question that Detroit's the better team right now?
no, Detroit
Goff,
is the better
yeah,
team.
exactly. Goff leads the NFL in completion percentage, and the offense is number one in points per play. Now, Detroit is still not great defensively, and their secondary's banged up. They're missing a couple of starters there at corner, so that's going to be a problem. But they're still top 10 versus the run. And with that banged up secondary, I think they're going to have to get pressure on Mahomes. And that's exactly what they've been doing defensively.
Yeah.
During the 4-game win streak that they're on right now,
Mm-hmm.
16 sacks, 9 takeaways.
Yeah.
I'm going Detroit here. Give me the 2.5. I'm going Detroit.
Yeah, I don't have enough confidence in Kansas City to even take the 2.5 here, the field goal for Cincinnati. Even though they like to play close games, that Jacksonville game, like you ask yourself, and this is not how you evaluate games, folks, but you have to ask yourself, is Jacksonville better than Detroit? I mean, that's not how you that's not how you evaluate the games. But I mean, let's be real though. Kansas City could not put away Jacksonville, and they should have. They should have put away Jacksonville, but they made too many mistakes because once you get Mahomes flustered, it seems like Mahomes kind of makes his mistakes. They get in those long third downs, and they can't convert like they used to. The Mahomes magic, and I think Detroit will be able to shut that down. Obviously, if they had Aaron Glenn back at defensive coordinator, they probably this would be a home run for Detroit probably, but they haven't had to rely on the defense per se as much because their offense is humming. They have Sonic and Hedgehog. They have receivers. Goff is playing unbelievably, and it doesn't even have to come out of his hands. Gibbs and Montgomery, they're such a dynamic duo. They're fun to watch. I just think that too many weapons on Detroit on offense, and then the defensive line, that pressure that they're going to be able to give to Mahomes, it's not going to be right away. But throughout the game, it's going to be enough. It's going to be enough to where at some point it breaks, and Detroit probably runs away with it, like they do in all of their games. And I will say this: the last part about this is, and this isn't how you evaluate games, but if Detroit can do what they did against Baltimore, they surely can do it against Kansas City. So I'm taking Detroit as well. I'm going to take the 2.5, and I'm going to be happy with it.
Yeah, what's that put us at? 5 for 5 on the same picks?
Yes, 5 for 5. The only
Yeah,
game
5 for
we
5.
have different is so far is the Thursday night game. And so,
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But what about Bears at Washington? This is the last game we're going to kind of go into as far as the deeper dive into it. Washington -4.5 at home, coming off that win on the West Coast against the Chargers. How are you feeling about this game?
I think it's going to be a good game because of this. Either the Bears are going to show up and that offense is finally going to click and we're going to see what they can do, or Washington's going to come out and Cliff is going to light up that scoreboard. So either one of those things are going to happen, or the collapse of the Bears, and I'm going to like that too. So, I mean, I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan. I never have been a big Caleb Williams fan. But from my sample size I've seen him, I hope Ben Johnson's able to do what he can with Caleb Williams. But this game, it would be Washington's to lose, I feel like. If Washington doesn't come out and they play defense and they try to get fancy on offense, the Bears can come out. They're capable of coming out and stomping them in the mouth and winning. They do have the offensive weapons to do that. You can't take them lightly, especially with Ben Johnson at the helm. But my confidence is in Washington. I think Washington, especially with Daniels out there playing at QB, I think they can get it done. Washington's got a pretty good defense, but I do think that this game is going to be closer than we think potentially if the Bears show up. But I like Washington here. I think I like Washington. I wish it wasn't 4.5 though. But I'll take Washington at -4.5.
Yeah, you made some good points there. Another team that's coming off a bye in Chicago, so they've got the rest there, and it felt like they were kind of hitting their stride offensively. Caleb's done well with Ben Johnson there. He's only turned the ball over twice, so that's a vast improvement over last year. It's not really the offense that scares me or that worries me in Chicago. It's that defense, which is shocking to say about Chicago. I feel like you think of Chicago, you think about vaunted defenses, but they allow over 29 points per game and rank 27th in sack rate.
Hmm.
And you give Daniels that kind of time, he's going to pick you apart.
Yeah.
And coming off that galvanizing win there in LA, where I think everyone kind of had them written off there against the Chargers,
Yeah.
that kind of win, that kind of momentum carries over. And you go back home, and I think the Commanders cover here. I think it could be a close game, but I like Washington. I like the momentum they're building with Jaden Daniels. I think this is the fact that Chicago cannot get to the quarterback. I think that bodes well for him, and I think Washington covers here at 4.5.
Yeah, and I wish you would have picked the other side just so we have some competition. But this weekend I feel like we're either going to miss every single game or we're going to hit every single game, and
Yeah.
and watch us go 50-50. I think I just covered all the bases on that. but yeah, I mean, I enjoy Washington. Even though I'm in the NFC East and you're not supposed to, and you think it's boring, I'm sorry. I like the players, and I think Washington is a good team to watch. And I'm not saying the Bears is not a good team to watch, but I really just don't like watching Caleb Williams. He just makes so many bonehead decisions, especially when he holds the ball too long and he doesn't know where to throw it. And he improvises and then it ends up costing the game. I just, yeah, I hope Washington pulls it out. I could totally see the Bears covering, but I just can't back the Bears there. And I think that's a lot with the slate today. Is it's just some of these teams are playing teams that I just can't back. And if we didn't have to go through the full slate, I would probably say I'm not betting this game. I'm not taking this game. I'm not looking at this game. I'll give you my thoughts, but I'm staying away from that game. But I don't do that. I put something on every single game so that we have some skin in it and we can talk about it the following week. So yeah, we're right in line for our highlight games. But let's go ahead and go into the full slate real quick on some of the games that we're not going to go into full detail real quick. So we started out with Denver and the Jets, and I've got Denver at -7. I really do not see a world where the Jets are going to win this game. This is not going to be the first game that the Jets win. If Dallas was able to do what they did against the Jets, I think that Denver is going to at least be able to do a fraction of that, which is still going to be 7 points. We got Dallas and Rams, and I got Dallas -3. I've got Indy -7.5. New England versus New Orleans, and I've got New England -3.5. I think New England has got the momentum, but they don't need the momentum. I just think they're really well coached. They're the better team, and they should be able to come out on top with a low spread. The Chargers versus Miami, I got the Chargers -4. Miami is a dumpster fire right now. I mean, their coach is on the hot seat. No idea what's really going to happen with them. They got good players. Tyreek Hill, his leg is completely shattered. I mean, you got Tua behind center. Who knows what's going to happen over there? But I can't back them. The Chargers are just better, even if they have injuries on the offensive line. We talked about Cleveland and Pitt. I got Cleveland +5.5. Seattle and Jacksonville. This is one I keep kind of going back and forth on. It could go either way. I kind of look like at this as kind of like a divisional game. That's what it feels like, but it's not. But Jacksonville's coming off of a high, and Seattle, they lost their shootout. And I'm gonna go with Seattle. I think Seattle wins this. I know it's -1 for Jacksonville. I want the Jags to win, but I just feel like I feel like defense is going to come into play. They play similar defense, but I think Seattle is going to come out on top. And we have the Rams versus the Ravens. This is still a Cooper Rush show. I'm taking the Rams at -7.5. Tennessee versus Vegas. These are very similar teams. They both suck. I'm taking the Raiders. Raiders -5. We talked about Cincy and Green Bay. I'm taking Cincy with the points +15. San Francisco at Tampa Bay. This could be a good game. Even with all the injuries with San Francisco, we saw what San Francisco did with the Rams. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I'm going to take Baker Mayfield. I'm going to take -3. Detroit at Kansas City. I'm taking Detroit +2.5. Give me the points. Buffalo and Atlanta. I got Buffalo -4 versus Atlanta. This could be closer than we think, but I think this is a game that Buffalo comes out and says, I'm sick of playing close games here. Let me show you how to blow a team out like we're supposed to. Hopefully Buffalo does that. -4 for me. Chicago at Washington. We got Washington at -4.5. And those are my picks. Murph, what you got?
Yeah, I think okay, so we've got a couple different ones here to finally get a little parity between you and I going. Just to recap on the Thursday night game, I do have the Giants covering that 7.5. I've got Denver against the Jets. I'll take Denver. I've got the Rams against Baltimore. We already touched on the Cowboys. I've got the Cowboys. I've also got Indy covering against the Cardinals. I've got Jacksonville covering against the Seahawks. I think Jacksonville opened as the dog. They were plus 1.5. I think the money's come in a little heavy on Seattle that moved that line. But I've got Jacksonville covering. I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm with you, Miami, dumpster fire. I've got New England covering against New Orleans. We talked about Cleveland, Pitt. I've got Cleveland there. I'm also with you on the Tennessee Raiders game. That they're both not good teams, to put it nicely. I'm going to take the Raiders there at home.
It's okay. You can say they suck.
Yeah. Yeah, they're terrible. I do like Genty, though. But I'm going to take the Raiders there. We touched on Cincinnati and Green Bay. I like Cincinnati. I'm going to go Tampa Bay as well with you against the Niners. I think that's going to be a good game, but tough to bet against Baker and the Bucks right now. So give me Tampa Bay at home. I've got Detroit covering against Kansas City. I've got we talked about Washington and Chicago. I've got Washington, and one pick that we differ on. I'm going to take the Falcons at home against Buffalo. I'm going to take the Falcons to cover the 4 points. Give me the Falcons at home coming off a bye week. I'm not sold on the Bills right now offensively. Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, so we differed on 3 picks there. Thursday night game, and we differed on the Buffalo Atlanta game, and we also differed on the Seattle Jacks game. This is the second game where you and I have differed on a Jacksonville game. I know you're high on Jacksonville. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is basically a toss-up, really. I think this is a toss-up. I think that the spread should be closer for the Tennessee and the Raiders. I keep saying the Vaders. I did this a couple episodes ago when we were talking about Las Vegas, and I said they should just be Vaders instead of Raiders, but they're the Raiders. They should be closer, but the Raiders are slightly better team than the Tennessee Titans. And and then Buffalo, I don't think that's a toss-up. We'll find out whenever they play. That is another Monday night game. I think Monday night is going to be a good night for games. And I can't wait for Monday night to come around. But yeah, hopefully we're better than 55% in our games. I can tell you right now, the Philly and New York game, congratulations on that one. You had plus 7.5. I had Philly at minus 7.5, and it looks like Philly is going to come nowhere close to covering that spread. We're looking at a 17-point game already with half of the fourth quarter left to go, and it's going to be near impossible for Philly to cover the 7.5. But what have you seen so far in that Philly game?
Yeah, the streak ends for me on Thursday night going winless there. We're gonna get the win here with New York absolutely smashing the Eagles right now with 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, I don't
They're up
know if that's
34-17.
I don't know if that's a good omen or not, though.
Right. It might, yeah, we might I might start off 1-0 and end up, 3-12 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, hey, Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, dude. They got something here in Jackson Dart. And
He's
Cam Scatterboot,
yeah.
Scotty's got 3 touchdowns right now. They found something here in New York, and they're exciting to watch. I've always felt like, of course, we're both Cowboys fans, so it's always hard to root for the NFC East teams, but I always thought the New York Giants were just a boring football team to watch.
Yes.
Always. And you know what? No more, man. It's exciting to watch New York football right now.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to see Brian and his coaching and see if it actually works out, because I'm not going to lie. Last season, I was kind of calling for his head because I just thought that maybe he wasn't a good coach. He was just really a good coordinator. And those exist. We see it all the time. High-profile coordinator gets pumped the head coach, and they completely gutter themselves out and have a horrible first 3 years, and they get canned, and then they go back to being a coordinator, and guess what? It's amazing again. And I thought that's what Brian was going to end up being. And I think, it ended up turning out, honestly, really what it was. We saw it on Hard Knocks. And let's just be real. their GM, that GM was just, it just seemed like, well, maybe Hard Knocks made it seem that way, but that GM, it made it seem like anybody could go in and be a GM of a football team. And I'm sorry if that sounds harsh or rude, but what he was talking about in that show and the decisions that he was making, like everybody was screaming, don't do that, don't do that. And then sure enough, as the season rolls on, it plays out that, oh, you shouldn't have did that. You should have did this instead. And that could have handicapped him as well. But hey, they got Jackson Dart. It looks like he's going to be a good one. They got our boy from Iowa State. And hopefully, that seems like that's going to pan out pretty good too. Neighbors is out all year, but hey, next year he's going to be back with that offense, and maybe they can even add another weapon. They added defensive pieces and Burns and Thibodeau, and they're, like you said, they're going to be fun to watch. And I'm with you. They're going to be like the Washington Commanders. I was about to say the Redskins, but the Washington Commanders that, I like watching them play, even though I'm a Cowboys fan, but Giants are going to be fun to watch as well. Unlike the Eagles.
Yeah, and they just forced another turnover, so Philly just turned it over again. So might be looking at a real massacre here. And we talked about a little bit in that previous episode where I said something's brewing in Philly that I don't like. It
Yeah.
smells off there. And man, what are the headlines going to read now when you go in and you absolutely crap the bed against the Giants and get blown out on national television? Yeah, it's going to get ugly there in Philly.
I'm always about crapping on Philly, and Philly is one of those teams I just hate to watch. I'm not a huge fan of, the fans in the stadium. They're they cause a pretty good ruckus, but Philly is just not a fun team to watch, even unless you're a fan, obviously. But they're just not a fun team to watch. They're not really exciting. I mean, I think they did the tush push 4 plays in a row in the first half to move the ball 4 yards. So, I mean, if they got in the touchdown, yeah, congratulations. But it's 34-17 right now. So, I mean, who knows what the final score is going to be. But yeah, I'm with you. New York Giants, they're going to be exciting. They're going to be fun to watch. And we're starting to see some of these other teams that get some young talent in there, and they're going to be fun to watch as well. But yeah, is there any other game out there that you want to circle besides Detroit and Kansas City before we head out?
No, I mean, look, that Tampa Bay Niners game is gonna be fun to watch. I think, like you said a little bit, you still got some injury problems there in San Francisco, but those are two well-coached teams with strong leadership on the sidelines, and there's no quit in either one of these teams. I think it's gonna come down. It's gonna be a one possession game. Hopefully, we're on the right side of that coin flip, but
Yeah.
we got a lot of good games this week, and I'm excited. And
Yeah.
hey, man, let's stay above that 55% mark. Let's go get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Well, thanks for showing up again. We've been working on your vocals a little bit, so hopefully this one comes out as good, for everybody's ears. And everybody get ready for some football this weekend. Take a breather, grab a drink, sit down in that recliner, turn on the big screen, watch it on some Red Zone, catch every single touchdown. But that's going to do it for us today. Can't wait to recap, but take a sip for me. Enjoy some football. See you next time.